What is up? Wow. All right. So I'm going to blow through this pretty quick because this is the first episode of Me, Myself, and AI. So episode 001, baby, August 20th, 2026. So welcome to Me, Myself, and AI. It's formerly the Mad Human Podcast. I'm your host, Atanasio Juarez, aka Resi Man. We're gonna go live, every week here on Thursdays, just to break down all of the latest news, breakthroughs, bullshit, and the conversations that are most important in the world of AI. I guarantee you one thing: we're not going to become like a hype machine for AI. We're going to try and keep it human, just like the previous iteration of this podcast. So no pretending that I know exactly where all of this is going either. Just a perspective from somebody who's working deeply in the space every day, and building with AI, breaking it, rebuilding, deploying it. I work in this space with my clients every day. I build this stuff and they break it and then I fix it. We deploy into actual companies, organizations, enterprise organizations, and small businesses. And occasionally I'm yelling at my computer a lot. So I know how you feel if you're frustrated with working with these tools. So this is a show to break down all of kind of the condensed knowledge and all of the use cases that I see on a daily basis, and then answer some questions for you guys on Tuesday's format, which is our AMA, Ask Me Anything. It's just crazy that this technology and working in this space, it feels like it's moving at light speed. I literally can go to bed on a Tuesday night feeling like I have everything handled and wake up on Wednesday and feel technologically Amish. So wanted to get you guys at least like 3 stories that are worth talking about every week. And holy shit, we picked a really good week to start this back up again. Because coming in at number 1, we've got the AI that got out. So this is intentionally like a clickbait kind of title, but I think we need to talk about OpenAI and just, no, AI did not become conscious or anything like that. It didn't attempt to like escape and break into military, computer systems or anything like that. But what actually happened is arguably more interesting. OpenAI was evaluating some experimental models for their advanced cybersecurity capabilities, and the models were inside an environment that was designed to contain them. We ended up hearing about this directly from OpenAI and from Hugging Face, that they were able to escape their containment environment. They were chained together, and then basically they included some previously unknown like 0-day vulnerabilities in their training, and they reached actual Hugging Face infrastructure, and that matters. So my take on that is like, I've learned something from deploying agents into real businesses, and the question isn't how intelligent your AI is anymore. It's what your AI is allowed to touch within your organization. Most of the clients that I work with are very concerned about data siloing and making sure that certain aspects of their workflows and what they do on a day-to-day basis are not accessible by the agents that we build and deploy for them. So what we have to think about as builders, and I think as anyone who's running implementation in larger enterprise organizations, is the questions around these credentials. What APIs the agent has access to? Can it send, view, and write emails or compose them? Can it modify a database? Can it deploy code within the organization? Can it spend money? Can it talk to other agents? Can it deploy other agents? There's an enormous difference between using ChatGPT on your computer and seeing hallucinations and actual capital like moving around within an organization or out the door. So when you're holding keys to a production database, you need to be certain that you are giving access appropriately to your agentic systems, and it can really make you look stupid if you don't have some kind of safeguards there or guardrails for the agent to be operating. So I think we're entering a really interesting period where AI safety becomes less like philosophical and much more architectural in how we build systems. So um, really kind of like the boring shit suddenly becomes really important shit really fast. So that's my first story. Let's see here. I got some notes to go over. Anthropic recently put 45 AI agents together and tasked them with finding software vulnerabilities. The agents began specializing and coordinating. Together, they found 266 vulnerabilities. So imagine 45 million agents operating on the internet, different companies, different models, different objectives. Nobody really knows what that ecosystem looks like, including me. So that's why I find it kind of fascinating that we're moving at such a breakneck speed into deploying agentic AI without actually knowing or actually establishing some kind of framework, bylaws. You could call it Asimov's, laws of robotics, or something in place at the bedrock of these models. That we need to start thinking about, like what happens when they do become completely autonomous and start making decisions on their own. We're already starting to see shades of that, and I'm not trying to be a doomer or anything, but I think we need to talk about AI safety. And what's nuts to me is that we haven't had a bigger conversation about this. Something like 90% of human beings on the planet right now still have very little, if any at all, exposure to AI and agentic systems. So let's go to story number 2. I'm trying to keep this quick and short. These Thursdays, I'm trying to run as like a half an hour or less. The Tuesday AMAs run long enough as it is. So let's just keep on moving. Next story is AI writing is getting a fingerprint. So Anthropic announced that they were going to start fingerprinting things that Claude was writing and watermarking them. And no, that doesn't mean that your email is going to end with sent from my Claude, like sent from my iPhone, but it's going to be something that's transparent to human eyes and something that is visible to somebody that can check. Although I desperately want that feature because the AI slop writing alone on LinkedIn is driving me fucking nuts. It just seems like everybody has a bot just running their LinkedIn profile. And really, it's just, sorry, but I know they're like trying to implement their social feature, which I think was inevitable, to kind of tag things, but that's going to cause a whole slew of other issues where people are tagging actual articles and things that people have written, humans, as AI slop. So I don't know how you police that and how it works. Why I care, this creates a much bigger question, really. Like, what does AI generated actually mean? I work with AI every day, and I'm going back and forth with multiple agents, multiple large language models. In fact, I used a large language model that I've trained into a scriptwriter that writes more in my voice and how I like to sound for this very live stream. So, and the notes that I'm referencing right now. So it's silly to me that like you have this insane level of intelligence that you're working back and forth with. Does that constitute AI generated writing? I don't think so. I think AI slop is something that you like, your people within your teams or your organization, they don't need to be like reading something that ChatGPT produced for you when you could just give them the prompt. They can use ChatGPT too. I think that's AI slop. But if you're prompting and going back and forth and getting ideas, like the whole ideation process and using AI for that, that's very different. I think you're curating your writing by working with an agent or by working with a model that maybe you have worked with long enough to know that it's trained into speaking in your voice. That's different to me. So where are my notes here? Oh, so here again, I'll reference what I had gone back and forth for this episode with Arlo, my agent, about what I wanted to say about this. And he says, before you say anything, you should think about what AI generated actually means. You work with AI constantly. Sometimes you ask a model to create something that's easy, but sometimes you bring the idea, explain it, the AI challenges it, you go back and forth. I tell you why my suggestion is good. You tell me why my suggestion sucks. It comes back with something better, and we go back, or it comes across as something better ultimately, and we go back and forth 20 different times. That helps us as an organization. that is not AI slop. So who wrote it is irrelevant, really, at that point. So was AI used? I think could be a better kind of moniker to describe that type of writing or that type of work, not just generated by AI. Because the answer is always going to be yes, I think moving forward, for anybody that's in knowledge work, if you're not already using these tools, even if it's, not code related or anything, maybe it's just a back and forth about how to create a better customer journey or experience for your clients. That's not slop to me. That's using the tool and ideating with the tool to get better results. All right. Third and last, the AI Cold War is the title for this banger of a story. Oh boy. It's probably the biggest story long term. The United States and China are increasingly at each other's throats about this competition over AGI and establishing their respective AI ecosystems really around the world. The US has been developing an initiative called Pax Silica around AI infrastructure, semiconductors, critical minerals, and supply chains. And if you don't know what that means, it means they're basically trying to cut off China's ability to continue to grow and advance their model capabilities, but they're doing it at the root. So countries are increasingly facing pressure over which technological ecosystem they're going to align with, whether it be the US or China. This isn't like ChatGPT versus Claude or ChatGPT versus any other, US based firm. It's like all the US based frontier labs versus DeepSeek or, any of the open source models coming out of China right now. So the shiny part that we see is model versus model. What's deeply embedded in this battle is economics, socioeconomic changes and challenges. The geopolitical factor is huge, and it boils down to really like 5 or 6 things. It's chips, it's energy, it's data centers, it's cloud infrastructure, it's models, robotics, cybersecurity, defense systems. I mean, it's a full stack of what's being touched right now by AI and how it is being integrated into all of these systems. And really, whoever controls the access to the materials that make those things possible and controls large portions of that stack, then consequently has enormous economic power and like enormous geopolitical power. So the connection that I see where all 3 of these stories meet, OpenAI is basically discovering capabilities that make them say, maybe we should slow down, right? Sam Altman came out this week with a statement about how they need to pause before they move any forward with their next level of models that are coming out. And the bigger question, I think, is should we pause if China doesn't, right? Because everybody's saying the same thing. Like, we need to slow down, except if our competitor doesn't, if Google doesn't, if Anthropic doesn't, then what do we do? If I'm sitting there, next to Sam and we're thinking about we should probably slow down, it's immediately followed by we absolutely cannot afford to slow down or be the one that slows down because everybody else continues to keep going at light speed. So with that in mind, we could be kind of caught like trying to define what the direction is that we should go in for the next decade foreseeably. I don't pretend to know the solution, but anybody working seriously in the space right now should be paying attention to all of these geopolitical issues and all the control over the resources. And that's just kind of my take on it. So that's it for the week. We are getting close on time. I have not checked any of the channels. I'm using a product called StreamYard. Go and check them out. I have a referral link that I'll put in the description for each one of these live streams. But they allow you to basically like multicast across Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube channels. I'm on multiple YouTube channels right now. If you are a subscriber to the older show, the Mad Human podcast, Appreciate you taking a look at Me, Myself, and AI. We're going to be doing this every Thursday as a live stream and recording it and releasing it as a podcast on Apple Podcasts. And when I say we, I mean me and a couple of robots that I talk to all day. So to wrap things up, that is week 1 of Me, Myself, and AI. Just a quick 3-story live stream podcast. We're going to do an AMA every Tuesday as well. That's more geared towards clients or prospects or really anybody, I guess. It's the public. So just let me know, I guess, if you want to chime in and ask a question. You can DM me at any one of my social media channels or at the primary that we're going to be running now on the previous Mad Human YouTube account. That's going to be reformatted and changed to Me, Myself, and AI. And then I will have like guests in a different format as well here in Eterna HQ in the future. I guess that's we, ourselves, and AI, we'll call it, or something. And we'll just jam on what's going on in the space and trying to stay up to date on, the latest news, events, breakthroughs, model releases, and just the most important conversations going on right now in the space. So let me read what I got here for my closing notes. So those 3 stories look completely different at face value, but they're all connected. AI agents are crossing boundaries. AI generated content is becoming identifiable. Nations are competing over AI infrastructure. And I think what we're actually talking about is all the same thing. For the last few years, AI has mostly been something that we opened in a browser and we chatted with. That's changing very rapidly. And I think I've been saying this for this past year to all my clients. We're well into entering the agentic phase of AI, where we're assigning more responsibility, more workload, really just more task-oriented bullshit to actual agents to run autonomously for us. And that's not a bad thing. We can also use those agents to create new revenue streams. We can give our staff and our teams literally like superpowers and allow them to really get more involved with the idea of having a increased level of intelligence, or a digital team member with an increased level of intelligence to work with, to ideate with, to create with. And that's the future that I see, at least in enterprise. Small businesses, I think, are struggling a little bit more to increase their rate of adoption because there's just people that are stuck in their ways of doing things. And that's always going to be the case when there's a new technology. But I think adoption rates are increasing pretty steadily. And I know that here at Eterna, we have been building constantly and trying to figure out exactly which vertical makes sense to devote more of our time, effort, and tokens to, essentially. So I just love being part of that, and the idea of AI becoming infrastructure, not just a chatbot, right? It's getting memory with our work, right? It's getting more tools. It's getting more permissions. It is creating more autonomous systems. So it's moving not just into people's phones on mobile devices, but it's also moving into businesses, devices that we can create that we never could create before with AI, governments, and eventually almost everything around us is going to have some layer of intelligence incorporated into it, down to your freaking refrigerator. So I think it's incredibly exciting. It also has a little bit of tinge of dread and existential dread in there. There are absolutely, things that we need to figure out and get right the first time, and that is daunting. But it's also one of the most fascinating technological periods any human being has ever seen. So I'm going to try and make sense of it all at least once a week for you guys watching and listening. And we'll just see how it goes. This is the first episode, so there is like literally a 0% chance that I don't just figure it out as I go here. But yeah, tune in. And Tuesdays, same thing, different format, more of a ask me anything. So feel free to bring your questions then. And hope you guys have the best freaking weekend of your lives. this next weekend. And yeah, I think that's it. I'll see you next week. Or yeah, I'll see you Tuesday. This is like a weird sign off. See you next Tuesday. Um, I will be back on Tuesday for that AMA. So I'll figure out how to freaking sign off these things eventually. It's the first show. Give me a freaking break here. All right. Later.